The most powerful person in the room is often the one you would never notice. The truly powerful choose to be invisible, wealthy, free. And that choice is more deliberate than you could imagine. That expensive suit, that luxury watch, that designer bag, those might be the clearest signs someone is still trying to prove something, not someone who has already won. The richest person in the room is rarely the one who looks it. And there is a specific psychological principle, one I will reveal fully later in this video. That explains exactly why the wealthiest people on earth deliberately choose to look ordinary, not because they cannot afford better, because they have discovered something about human nature that changes everything about wealth, status, and who you can actually trust. In the next few minutes, you are going to understand the hidden psychology behind people who dress poor but are secretly rich. The filter they are running, the power they are holding, and the one insight that will permanently change how you see every status symbol around you. The wealth disguise. Picture the wealthiest person you have ever met in real life. How did you know they were wealthy? Chances are something gave it away. A watch, a car, a particular kind of confidence combined with very expensive shoes. We have been trained, by advertising, by culture, by social media, to read wealth through visible symbols. But here is the uncomfortable question. What if the truly wealthy, the ones with real, generational, untouchable financial security, learned a long time ago to strip those symbols away entirely, on purpose? Stealth wealth is not an accident. It is a calculated and intentional strategy. Think about the names you already know. Warren Buffett drives himself to work and eats fast food breakfasts. Mark Zuckerberg wore the same gray t-shirt every single day for years. Steve Jobs made a plain black turtleneck his entire public identity. These are not oversights. These are some of the most strategic, calculated minds in modern history, and they chose to look unremarkable. Choose ordinary, own power. So why? What did they understand about human nature that most people never figure out? The answer is more sophisticated than you might expect. And it starts with a psychological trap that almost everyone falls into without ever realizing. The signal trap. Here is something that might sting a little. Every time you see someone in a luxury car or wearing designer clothes, your brain fires a rapid judgment. And every single time you use those same signals yourself, other brains are firing the exact same rapid judgment about you. Status symbols are a two-way mirror. You see out, and everyone else sees in. Social psychologists call this costly signaling theory. The idea that we display expensive, visible markers to communicate our position to others. Animals do it. Birds grow elaborate plumage. Deer grow enormous antlers. Humans buy luxury SUVs and wear watches that cost more than some people earn in a full year. But here is what research consistently shows. The genuinely wealthiest individuals in any social group are identified as wearing the most casual, understated clothing, not the most expensive. Because when you truly have it, you do not need to announce it. The signal costs nothing to someone who actually has the substance. If this is already shifting something in your thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep unpacking the hidden psychology of wealth. Because the reason the quietly wealthy choose invisibility is not just subtlety. It is about something far more strategic. A calculated game being played around you that most people never even realize they are part of. The manipulation game. Stop and think about this for a second. The moment someone truly knows you are wealthy, not suspects it, but actually knows, the dynamic of every relationship changes. Every interaction from that point forward gets filtered through that single piece of information. Money changes every room. The smile across the table. Is it genuine, or is it aimed at what you represent? The new friendship, authentic interest, or strategic proximity? The sociologist Irving Goffman spent his career mapping exactly this dynamic. In his landmark work, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, he argued that human interaction is fundamentally a performance, and that every performer is constantly managing what their audience believes about them. When you make your wealth visible, you attract a very specific kind of audience. 1. People seeking proximity to your status. 2. People running transactional calculations. 3. People who want access to your resources. The ultra-wealthy who deliberately dress down are not being modest. They are running the most sophisticated social filter ever invented. And most of the people being filtered never realize they are being evaluated. Remove the signal, and only the real ones remain. The next layer goes deeper, into something old money has understood for generations. Old money codes. Now forget everything social media has taught you about what wealth looks like. Because there is a world that has operated by entirely different rules for generations. and it does not post about it. Old money does not announce itself, because it has never needed to. In aristocratic culture across Europe, the ostentatious display of wealth has long been considered deeply vulgar, a marker not of sophistication, but of insecurity. The French have a phrase, bon chic bon genre, which translates roughly as being well-bred and tasteful without any ostentation. British upper-class culture has historically viewed the nouveau rich, new money, with something between mild contempt and genuine pity. Their uniform is deliberate subtlety. The worn tweed jacket, the understated watch. The shoes resoled 3 times because they were built to last and meant to be kept for decades. Worn old quiet dignity. This is not tradition for its own sake. It is a signal, but one that only the right people can decode. It communicates that you have nothing left to prove, that your sense of self does not depend on what others think of your possessions. And the psychological research on exactly why that matters so deeply connects to something fascinating about human identity itself. The identity code. Here is where it gets deeply psychological. Ask yourself honestly, if you stripped away everything you own, everything you wear, every signal you send about your success and your status, who would you be? This is the question that separates people who are genuinely wealthy from people who are performing wealth. Identity. Psychologists studying self-concept, the mental model we hold of ourselves, have found something consistent across decades of research. People with fragile or unstable self-worth are significantly more likely to use external objects to construct and defend their identity. The designer bag is not just a bag. The luxury car is not just transportation. They are psychological scaffolding, holding together a sense of self that has not yet found its own internal foundation. External symbols become unnecessary when internal identity is completely unshakable. Abraham Maslow described the highest level of human development, self-actualization, as characterized by genuine independence from the need for external approval, a real freedom from needing to be perceived in any particular way. The people who dress plainly despite extraordinary wealth have, often without consciously choosing it, arrived at exactly this place. The clothes become truly irrelevant when the identity is solid, but there is another layer, darker, more strategic. That makes what comes next genuinely unsettling. The power play. Here is where the strategy becomes genuinely sophisticated, because dressing below your wealth is not just about psychological health or filtering out opportunists. For the most deliberate practitioners, it is about something far more fundamental: power. Information is power. Think about this carefully. When you walk into a room displaying your status clearly, you have already revealed your hand. You have communicated what you want. Recognition, validation. You have shown your need. But when someone genuinely wealthy walks in dressed plainly, the information asymmetry is entirely in their favor. They know exactly who they are. You do not know who they are. They are evaluating everything while remaining completely invisible. As Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. This is documented in organizational psychology as strategic deference, the deliberate downplaying of status to gain tactical advantage in social and professional settings. The most effective negotiators strip every signal of need before entering a room. The most powerful people in history dress to disappear. When no one knows what you are worth, they cannot calculate what to take from you. Invisibility is an active, deliberate strategy. And the deep human reason it works so powerfully leads directly to the most emotionally resonant insight in this entire video. The trust filter. Let me pause here because this next part changes the entire picture. Everything we have explored, the filtering, the power dynamic, the identity, it all converges on something profoundly human. Something that wealth, when you finally have enough of it, makes you crave more desperately than almost anything else. Trust. When you are visibly wealthy and everyone around you knows it, genuine trust becomes the rarest currency in your life. Not money, trust. Can this friend actually be trusted, or do they want something from me? Does this partner love me, or love what I represent? Is this colleague genuinely excited about my thinking, or just about my access and resources? Research on the social dynamics of high-status individuals consistently shows that visible wealth significantly distorts the interpersonal behavior of everyone around that person. People change how they speak, what they admit, how vulnerable they allow themselves to be in the presence of visible money. Visible wealth creates a loneliness that no amount of money can ever cure. By dressing like everyone else, by removing the status signal entirely, the ultra-wealthy create a natural social experiment every time they enter a room. Strip the diamond, wear the plain shirt, and see who actually shows up. Those are your real people. And what comes next is the insight that is going to disturb you the most. The poverty illusion. Here is where it takes a genuinely dark turn. Because while the truly wealthy are quietly dressing down, moving invisibly, protecting their authenticity and their power, most people are doing the exact and opposite, spending money they do not have on symbols of a wealth they have not built, performing a status they are borrowing against their entire future to sustain. Research in behavioral economics shows that people consistently make irrational financial decisions driven by what Nobel Prize winner Richard Thaler called mental accounting distortions. We radically overinvest in visible goods, clothes, cars, phones, while dramatically underinvesting in invisible wealth builders, savings, assets, skills, and compound growth over time. Why? Because the signal feels more real than the substance. In 1899, the sociologist Thorstein Veblen named this pattern precisely. He called it conspicuous consumption. The practice of buying expensive, visible things not for their function, but for the social status they signal to others. Conspicuous consumption of valuable goods is a means of reputability. The painful irony: the people performing wealth most loudly are statistically among those furthest from it, and the ones who actually have it are invisible while you are busy watching the performance. Perform less, build more. The deepest psychological reason why we fall into this trap. That is the principle I promised you at the very beginning, and it changes everything. The real filter. I told you at the very beginning that there was a specific psychological principle that explains everything. This is it. The filter. Behavioral researchers studying the intersection of wealth and social dynamics have identified what is now called the authenticity filter effect. The principle is this: visible wealth fundamentally and consistently distorts every social interaction around the person who displays it. People alter their behavior, their honesty, their intentions when they know that status is present, but remove those signals. Dress like everyone else, move without drawing attention, and social interactions revert to their authentic baseline. People engage with you as a person, not as a resource or a symbol to be leveraged. Morgan Housel, in his landmark book The Psychology of Money, captured this with a line that stayed with me. Wealth is the nice cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, the watches not worn. The deliberately understated wealthy person is not running from their success. They are using invisibility as a precision instrument to find the people who actually see them. The filter has always been running. The wealthy simply learn to run it intentionally. Real wealth, real people. This is the hidden psychology. Does this shift something in you? Comment stealth wealth below, because what comes next is going to show you exactly how to apply all of this to your own life. The wealth code. So what do you actually do with all of this? Because none of it matters unless it changes something about how you move through the world. The way you present yourself is a declaration of what you still need to prove to others. Ask yourself honestly, what are you signaling right now? And more importantly, why? Are you communicating something you genuinely are, or are you compensating for something you are afraid you are not? Prove nothing, build everything. Because here is what the hidden psychology of stealth wealth ultimately teaches us. Real financial power and real social power come from the exact same internal place, an identity that does not need external confirmation to feel solid and real. When your sense of self is genuinely rooted in what you have actually built, financially, intellectually, relationally, you stop needing to perform it. Stop spending energy on the performance and start building the substance behind it. The energy you invest in managing impressions is energy borrowed directly from building what those impressions pretend to represent. Real freedom is not being able to afford the luxury brand. Real freedom is being genuinely indifferent to it, because what you have built speaks without a single word. If you made it this far, comment stealth rich. You are now among the few who understand the filter. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know how to reprogram it. The most powerful insight from everything we explored today is this: real wealth does not need a costume. Real wealth needs nothing. The wealthiest people discovered something about human nature that most people never access. That visible status signals do not attract the life you want. They attract the interactions you must protect yourself from. By choosing invisibility, by deliberately stripping away the performance, they gain the one thing money genuinely cannot buy: the ability to finally know who sees you for who you actually are. Every relationship formed without the distortion of visible wealth, every connection built when you offered no status signal at all, That is your real return on investment, not the interest on a portfolio, not the logo on a jacket. The filter was always running. Now you can run it consciously, build quietly, accumulate in silence, let only your work speak. As Seneca once reminded us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know how to reprogram it. If this exposed something in you, subscribe. There is more to uncover.